Welcome back, students. So this video, we're just going to discuss over some of the things we thought and questions that might have pondered in our head as we were reading, as I was reading that narrative. So, in what ways was Rosa Parks School different from yours? Can you think of ways that it was similar? Do you think all schools in or around Pine Level were like Rosa Parks School? Why or why not? So write down in your writing journal what your answer would be to that question. Do you think they would be similar? How are they different from your school? Miss Rogers, thinks from the context of segregation in the black school reference, students might infer that there were also a white school that was different from the school Rosa Parks attended. So, from the clues and things I read as I was reading, it kind of gives me clues that it was other schools around that weren't like Rosa Parks, and that her school was just a little bit different due to the segregation of the other white schools that were around. The second question I would pose and ask you guys is if you can ever refer about anything Rosa Parks' family and how she lived from the three sentences. These three sentences right here. Sorry, boys and girls. We were asked to play at home a little bit. My mother would buy us a ball, and we would have to be careful because soon a rubber ball would be lost. It didn't last too long. So, from these three sentences, what can you infer? What do you think about her family and how she lived from that content right there, talking about how the ball, if she would her mom would buy her a rubber ball, and she had to be careful because if it rolled away, they would lose it. So write that down in your writing journal. Miss Rogers' answer, what I would think and what I can infer from that section of the passage is that the family was poor and that young Rosa Parks did not have a lot of toys to play with, because it's saying that she made it seem like if she lose this rubber ball, she wasn't going to get another one pretty soon, because maybe her family unfortunately didn't have the money to continue to buy those toys for her. So good job, boys and girls. Just using your inferring skills and reading through the passage to see what we actually gained from that selection. So now we're going to practice find your evidence. So we're going to read an excerpt, excuse me, not an expert, of the passage, and we're going to find quotes that support different things that we find from the story, okay? So it says, I was about 6 when I started school. Sylvester started a year later. When he was around 5, we went to one black school in Pine Level at a little frame schoolhouse that was just a short distance from where we lived. It was near our church, the Mount Zion AME church, right in the churchyard. In many places, the church was used as a school, but in Pine Level, we had a separate schoolhouse on the church grounds. We had first grade through sixth grade, and there were about 50 to 60 children in one room. We sat in separate rows by age, and at certain times, the larger students would go up to read or recite, and then at other times, it was the smaller ones' turns. So, as we list here, as we read that short excerpt from the narrative we read, we can start pulling quotes to prove that it was a little bit of injustice in that system in the school that she went to. So the two quotes that I pulled from that section was, I was about 6 when I started school, and we went to a one black teacher school in Pine Level in a little frame house, and that's on page 32. And also, we had first grade to sixth grade, and there were about 50 to 60 children in one room. So imagine, boys and girls, if you had 50 or 60 of your other fifth grade classmates in one room. That would be hard if it was just me in there. It would be very, very crowded. So the evidence of injustice from those two quotes prove that school for African Americans were very crowded, as I say, and only one teacher for 50 students. That's a lot. And as you see now with your school, we don't have you in one classroom with first graders or fourth graders. Y'all are all separated and have your own individual teachers that specialize for your concept and for your grade, but they had everything boxed together. So that's just a way to, as you read, begin to comprehend and pull out quotes that help you prove the what you're trying to portray or what you believe is going on in the narrative.